Hello everyone, welcome to Lukman IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 13th June 2021. Let us see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, these are important articles. Let us take overview of all these articles and then we'll discuss them in detail. First article, reviving the spirit of multilateralism. The context here is of G7 grouping, G7 summit that is going on, and yes, the article is discussing in detail about the outcome of the recent summit as well as the relevance of G7 grouping in the present era in promoting multilateralism. So this is important GS2 paper, international relations. Then new declassification policy gets nod. It is talking about declassification of important information regarding wars and different missions undertaken by Ministry of Defence. Right. So what is this declassification policy, which is the nodal agency? All these aspects are important from defense and security aspect, significance of policy also, and which committees earlier recommended such declassification policy. Next, breach exposes government officials' data to hackers. Now, many such malicious links have been sent to the government officials, and earlier there was leakage of data, personal data from Big Basket and such platforms, and now targeting government officials to take some kind of data from the government or the administration is being done by cyber attacks, through cyber attacks. So this is important as a follow up to cyber security GS3 paper. You can mention such examples of cyber attacks that are happening in India. Then Operation Olivia to rescue Olive Ridleys. So this Operation Olivia of Indian Coast Guard in Odisha state. So what is this operation significance, and then about olive ridley turtles, then basics about this olive ridley turtles. This is important from environment perspective. Then meet Bharithalasucus tapani. Now the new carnivorous reptile that lived 240 million years ago. So such fossils of this carnivorous reptiles have been analyzed, studied, and more information about this carnivorous reptile have been put forward in the public domain through this study. So what is this particular reptile? Basic information about that, environment perspective. Yes. Lastly, some COVID-19 related developments. Recently, again the new decisions have been taken by GST Council regarding the GST tax rates to various vaccines and equipments for COVID-19 purpose. Okay, and lastly some practice prelims MCQs that we are solving on day-to-day basis on current affairs. Okay, let us go into details. First, reviving the spirit of multilateralism. Now G7 summit recently happened, concluded. This was 47th G7 summit. This happened after 2019 now. Okay, so yes, we have to understand the significance of this summit along with G7 grouping. So G7 grouping, if we are talking about the background, this was formed we can say formed in 1975. Some of the richest countries from that time came together to form this grouping to discuss, deliberate on important global issues. Okay, so this was formed. Now these G7 countries, which are these? US, Canada from North America, then 4 European countries, which are these? UK, France, Germany, and Italy, and then there is Japan from Asia. So these are G7 countries. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right. So they formed this G7 grouping. When they were formed at that time, they contributed around 70% of world GDP. When they were formed. Okay, this grouping was formed At that time 70% of world GDP came from these 7 countries. Now we have to understand whether this G7 is losing relevance. Why it is being said that? Because at present such GDP has reduced to 40% of world GDP from these 7 countries. Earlier it was 70% when this body was formed, and then now it is 40%, and that's why larger G20 group has become more relevant now, right, through inclusion of countries like India, Brazil, China, Russia, right. So now we can understand the significance of G20 grouping, the larger grouping having some kind of diversified representation to the world economies, right. So that's why it is being said that G7 is losing relevance. Along with that, many issues and challenges are being faced. Now outcome, after understanding this, let us try to understand the outcome that G7 under renewed leadership of US. Now earlier era, we have seen since till 2019, the earlier president of US was to some extent not in favor of multilateralism, not promoting reforms in multilateral institutions. Rather, he was withdrawing US from many multilateral institutions like UNESCO, or we can say Paris Climate Deal, right. So Human Rights Council. So all these actually were to some extent the inward looking decisions, and now the new president of US is promoting multilateral institutions. US rejoined Paris climate deal, and now also the focus on renewed G7 grouping and its agenda. So outcome here, the minimum global corporate tax of 15% have been agreed. So yes, the finance ministers earlier of G7 countries met and agreed on such 15% minimum global corporate tax, right. So earlier we discussed about this global minimum corporate tax. What is the meaning? Basically it is to reduce the disparity between the tax resources being generated, and to some extent the profit erosion and profit shifting that was happening, tax erosion and profit shifting that was happening by these multinational companies from the home country to the tax havens, right. So tax havens like Singapore or Ireland is there, Mauritius is there. Basically these countries levy very less tax, and therefore these MNCs tend to show the profits from these jurisdictions, so that low tax is implemented or paid. Okay, so now there will be some kind of parity created. This will going to be beneficial for countries like India also. At present, according to one of the estimates, India loses around $10 billion in terms of tax revenue from these MNCs because of loopholes they find in the taxation regime that we have in world, right. But what are the challenges? Challenges, we can understand that there will be some kind of, let's say, agreement that will be required from G20 grouping and OECD countries. Along with that, the tax havens like Ireland, which receives much of its revenues from these MNCs by taxing less through on these companies, right. So they will be opposing actually such kind of reforms. So how that can be dealt, that is we are going to see in future. Okay, so in challenges you can mention that. Then G7 leaders unveiled the Build Back Better World project. Now this Build Back Better, this is called as B3W. This can be asked in prelims also. Prelims examination, very important. Build Back Better World. Okay, so basically it is regarding the infrastructure investment, infrastructure projects, investment in low and middle countries, middle income countries. Right. Low and middle income countries. So high quality, high standards, right? So that partnership will be maintained, and investment in infrastructure project. Basically, it is targeted towards China's BRI initiative, Belt and Road Initiative, right? So you need to know that now the Western countries are uniting together against China's this Belt and Road Initiative through this B3W. Now this information is important for prelims examinations. Along with that, G7's declaration on global health. So yes, global health in terms of, let's say, increasing speed of approvals, development and approvals of drugs and vaccines to deal with future pandemics. Okay, so basically this global health approach, coordination and disease surveillance, data sharing, all these aspects have been included here in this declaration on global health. So basically they are going to prepare the world for dealing with next pandemic. Now this is good thing, and India is surely going to cooperate with G7 countries in this efforts. Right. Now let us try to understand that this, let's say यहाँ पे हमने जो बोला था G7 losing its relevance, right? So why we were saying this G7 losing relevance? There are some other issues also along with reduced GDP. There are some other issues like the relationship between US and UK. Relationship between US and UK, though we can understand that at present they are working together. However, we have to understand new president of US, Biden, he opposed earlier Brexit, okay, and to some extent it is affecting the relationship between two. Fine. So this is one of the bone of contention. Then we can say that earlier Russia was added in G7 grouping, and then it was known as G8. But in 2014, after annexation of Crimea by Russia, annexation of Crimea, a region of Ukraine that was annexed by Russia, so the Russia was expelled from this grouping, and again at present it is now G7 grouping. This information is also important for prelims examination, right? So this is also one of the issue. Then we have to also understand that issues which are discussed in this forum, they are not in a, let's say, focused manner, rather any new issue, or we can say a variety of issues are discussed, and therefore the follow up on the actions which are to be taken, this becomes difficult for G7 grouping. Okay. So yes, nevertheless the ability of G7 grouping to set the tone for multilateral actions and cooperation among the different countries in the world cannot be undermined, and therefore its significance still it is having. Explain the significance of G7 grouping in reviving multilateralism in global order. So yes, just now we talked about the outcome, the importance, significance, and to some extent you can talk about the challenges also. Now, new declassification policy gets not. Basically, the declassification policy relates to archiving, declassification, compilation and publication of war and operations history by Ministry of Defence. Okay, so what are the highlights of this policy? It envisages that each organization under Ministry of Defence will transfer the records including war diaries, letters, operational record books to History Division of Ministry of Defence for proper upkeep, archival and writing the histories. Okay, so History Division of Ministry of Defence is the nodal agency. Responsibility of declassification of records rests with respective organizations as specified in Public Record Act 1993 and the rules under it 1997. According to the policy, records should be ordinarily declassified in 25 years. Now, this is good thing, the timeline in general is mentioned 25 years. Along with that, History Division will be responsible for coordination with various departments while compiling, seeking approval and publishing of war and operations histories. Now, a committee, it mandates constitution of committee headed by joint secretary, in Ministry of Defence and comprising of representatives of services like MEA and Ministry of External Affairs, Home Affairs and other organizations, prominent military historians if required for compilation of war and operations histories. Right. So, for compilation purpose such committee will be there. Then the policy also sets clear timelines with regard to compilation and publication of war and operations histories. For example, the above mentioned committee should be formed within 2 years of completion of war or operations. Within 2 years, such committee should be there and the collections of record and compilation should be completed in 3 years and disseminated to all concerned. Okay. So, after formation of committee within 3 years it should be compiled. We need to know the committees who recommended such kind of declassification, policy on declassification. It was recommended by Kargil Review Committee headed by K. Subramaniam and NN Vora Committee also in order to analyze lessons learned and prevent future mistakes. Right. So, basically the significance is that timely publication of war histories would give people accurate account of events, provide authenticate material for academic research and counter the unfounded rumors. Right. So, this is the significance of having such declassification policy. Fine. So, this is important from security and defense perspective, GS3 paper. Breach exposes government official data to the hackers. So, earlier such data breach happened for Air India, Domino's and Big Basket and huge data was leaked from these platforms and now compromised emails on government domains such as at nic.in, at government.in are potential cyber threats as they are being used by adversaries to send malicious mails to all government users. What they are doing, they are asking actually, they are sending some links, SMS to these government officials as they have their data now, email or we can say mobile numbers, and they are asking to click the COVID-19 link to download the vaccination certificate. And once it is clicked, then it is redirecting it to the government website with this domain. It is looking like official website and then it is seeking its user ID and password. Once it is entered, then we can say that that account, the government data can be transferred by the hacker. This is how they are actually attacking the government servants also, government users. Okay, so you can use this example by in your answer in GS3 paper when we are talking about cyber security. Right. Operation Olivia to rescue Olive Ridley. So, Olive Ridley turtles Right. So yes, every year Indian Coast Guard's Operation Olivia, initiated in early 1980s, helps to protect olive ridley turtles as they congregate along the Odisha coast for breeding and nesting from November to December months. Right. So Coast Guard undertakes like round the clock surveillance is conducted from November till May, utilizing Coast Guard assets such as fast patrol vessels, air cushion vessels. So all these things are done by the Coast Guard under this uh, Operation Olivia. Okay, so you need to remember about this operation. It is by Indian Coast Guard, not Indian Navy or other such, rather Indian Coast Guard. Fine. Now, some additional information from this article that all 5 species of sea turtles found in India are included in Schedule 1 of the Indian Wildlife Protection Act 1972 and in Appendix 1 of CITES, Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna, CITES. Okay, so highest protection is given to all sea turtles. Okay, so what is this olive ridley turtle? Olive ridley turtle, yes. Olive ridley turtles are migratory species visiting Indian coast for nesting. These turtles travel all the way from South Pacific Ocean to breed on the coast of Gahirmatha. Okay, so yes, there are different nesting sites, 3 important nesting sites during this mass nesting: Gahirmatha beach, then Robert Island, and then Rushikulya on the mouth of Rushikulya river. Okay, so these 3 sites you need to remember their names. This mass nesting phenomenon is called arribadas. This is a Spanish term for mass nesting. Spanish term for mass nesting. Okay, the IUCN conservation status for these olive ridley turtles is vulnerable and highest degree of protection, that is Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act. What are the threats? Heavy predation on eggs of these turtles by dogs, wild animals, indiscriminate fishing with trawlers and gill nets, and beach soil erosion. These are the threats faced by these turtles. Okay, so this is very unique mass nesting phenomenon, arribadas. Okay, that is observed from November and December months, and later what happens is after 45 days the hatchlings move towards ocean water. This phenomenon continues till May. Okay, so you need to remember this basic information about olive ridley turtles. Now many times students get confused between turtles, tortoise and terrapins. Okay, turtles, tortoise, terrapins. Now you need to know the basic difference between them, though they are used alternatively. There is basic difference. Basic difference is that more time spent in water, both fresh water or marine water, they are called as turtles. They are called as turtles. Then tortoise, more time on land as compared to water, they are called as tortoises. They are called as tortoises. And terrapins are basically smaller in size. They can be either tortoise or turtles, but they are smaller in size. Okay, they can be fresh water or marine water also. So terrapins, why they are called as terrapins? Because they are smaller in size. This is the basic difference you need to remember. Fine? Okay. Now, Bharitala suchus tapani, this particular carnivorous reptile existed 240 million years ago. Now, international team of researchers have now let's say studied the rock remains of Yarapalli formations stored in Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata, Basically, this Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata, its scientists, they had excavated these rocks, these fossils from this Yerapalli formations from Pranhita Godavari basin in Telangana, present day Telangana, right, in mid 20th century, and now they are stored here, and now international team has studied them, and new kind of, let's say, information they have released in their study. They named this particular carnivorous reptile as Bharitala Such Tapani. Okay. In Telugu language, Bhari means huge, Tala means head, and Suchus is the name of Egyptian crocodile headed deity. You can see how does it look like they have created a picture, imaginary picture. The species named after paleontologist Tapan Roy Chowdhury in honor of his contribution to Indian vertebrate paleontology. Then further studies revealed that the reptile belonged to family of extinct reptiles named Erythrosuchidae. Erythrosuchidae. They were approximately the size of adult male lion and might have been largest predators in their ecosystems. Okay, so to some extent the evolution process, this is important from the evolution perspective, right. So you can have the follow up, because whatever the information that we are getting about this species, historical aspects, geographical aspect from science and technology page on Sunday's newspaper is important. Now, GST Council has taken certain decision regarding tax rates. So that's why we have added this in COVID-19 related developments. It decided to waive the tax levied on two critical drugs against COVID-19 and mucormycosis, tocilizumab and amphotericin B. Okay, and reset the tax rate to 5% for 14 major pandemic relief items till 30th September. Okay, which are these items? Like, yes, essential, you have understood now, these two drugs, they have been waived off all the tax. Then remdesivir and anticoagulants like heparin, earlier it was 12%, now it is 5%. Medical grade oxygen, oxygen concentrator, ventilators, pulse oximeter testing kits, earlier 12%, now it is 5%. Hand sanitizer, temperature checking equipment, gas or electric furnace for crematorium, earlier 18%, now 5%. And ambulances were charged earlier 28% GST, now it is reduced to 12%. And the earlier 5% GST on vaccines is not revised, it is going to be continued. Okay, so this is the follow up for COVID-19 related development. Now try to solve this MCQ. Yes. Now many times those students who do not know or have knowledge about this particular phenomenon, they will not be able to mark the correct answer, because all of them look like such kind of phenomenon like folk dance, aribadas, or seasonal migration of nomads in Himalayan region, or nesting of migratory birds in Chilika Lake. So because it looks like local name, right? But actually it is mass nesting phenomenon of olive ridley turtles, sea turtles. So answer is B here. Again, next question, try to solve this one. Yes. So two statements, we have to find the correct statement about Operation Olivia. We have to find the correct statement about Operation Olivia. It is an initiative of Indian Navy. Incorrect. It is not initiative of Indian Navy, rather Indian Coast Guard. Right. And it is for repatriation of Indian citizens during COVID-19 pandemic. No, it is not for repatriation. So generally, those who are not aware about such operation, they may think about like Indian Navy. Yes, Indian Navy is working for repatriation, so it might be correct. Something like that student may think when we do not have exact information. So this is also incorrect. Rather, Operation Olivia is to protect the olive ridley turtles in coast of Bengal, right? So yes, both are incorrect. So that's why neither 1 nor 2 is the correct answer. Fine? Yes. So these were important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Try to take input for both prelims as well as mains examination. If you have any question, any doubt regarding what we are discussing in this classroom, you can ask in the comment box. We will try to solve your query in the coming lectures. For more information regarding the foundation batch of Lukman IAS, which is soon going to start for 2022 examination, you can contact Lukman IAS. Thank you.
Live online classes are as effective as offline classes. Ethics with S. Ansari remains the best ever choice. Do you know that ethics paper is the only paper in general studies that pays more with less efforts? One can easily secure 130 to 140 marks. Lukman IAS is a well-established name since 2014 for ethics paper. We offer 3 types of courses: Ethics Foundation course, Ethics Case Studies, and Ethics Test Series. Since 2015, Lukman IAS students have maintained the records of securing the highest marks in this paper. Ethics Foundation course is starting from 21st of June 2021. Classes will be for 4 days in a week from 11 am to 1:30 pm. The course duration is of 60 days and the videos will be available for 75 days. There will be 43 classes, of which 35 classes will be focused on theory and concept building and 8 classes will be dedicated for case studies. There will be over 180 case studies and 3 tests. Since 4 months are left for prelims, one can easily finish the ethics paper before prelims itself, and it's a good opportunity. So why to wait? Contact us today for more information.